So my bookish New Year's resolution is to read more great books this year. Starting with January, here's what I'm going to read this January 2023. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my January 2023 TBR. This is the second time I had to shoot this because I did say 2022. Hopefully I'll get that out of my system. So I didn't shoot a TBR video until last July. I never really had a TBR except for the big 500 book spreadsheet that I have of the things I want to read at some point. But as far as having a monthly TBR, this was very new to me. And I originally started it with MBRs because I said, I don't want to be stuck to a schedule and that sort of thing. But as it turns out, I kind of like the schedule. So I'm going to embrace this TBR and I'm going to just add a little bit more structure to it because I do like the structure aspect of having a TBR. So what you can expect from me each month is I'm going to have 8 books, around 3,000 pages because I do tend to read about 100 pages a day, and at least 3 genres. I had a little stretch in the middle of the year where I was reading just a lot of fantasy and science fiction, and it got a little stale for me. So I'm going to make sure every month I'm reading at least 3 genres. This month I do have 4 genres, but 8 books, 3 genres, 3,000 pages. Additionally, I'm going to invite a guest every month to pick a book for me. And I'm going to invite a different booktuber and just prompt them with the idea of pick a book that you think that I will love. And that's going to be an added wrinkle each month as I read something different. So you'll see Joanna give her choice later in this video. So as I am embracing this structure, I'm actually going to talk about these books in the order that I plan on reading them. Starting with Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is an epic work of historical fiction, which is a Western. And last year, I started my year with an epic work of historical fiction. I read Shogun by James Clavell, and all year long, it was one of the best books that I read in the year, and that didn't change by the end of the year. I did love Shogun. And I'm hoping that a similar thing happens here, that I start the year off great by reading Lonesome Dove. I've heard just such great things from so many different people. It is a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. And just full disclosure, I did start it right before shooting this video. I read about 150 pages of it yesterday, and I'm thoroughly immersed in this world, in these characters, and I'm really enjoying it. So I hope that Lonesome Dove will be not only just a 5-star read to start the year, but maybe one of the best books I read all year. Now, after Lonesome Dove, I'm going to read Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson, which is the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, the 10-book series that is notoriously challenging book series to read in the fantasy genre. I'm, of course, reading this with Alex and Jordan and Ian. We're reading this on the Grimoire Discord where I have lots of discussions with us. A lot of you are reading along with us, and a lot of Malazan vets will pop in as well. Additionally, each month when we finish a book, we will do a live stream with the 4 of us and a Malazan veteran to talk through the book, to help us understand things that we may have missed. And I'm really looking forward to this journey, especially the shared experience of this journey with the 3 of them. So that is the second book that I'll be reading this month, is Gardens of the Moon. Third book I'll read this month is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. When I decided to read the Malazan Book of the Fallen, I wanted to read something very different alongside it, and I decided the Chronicles of Narnia is a perfect contrast. Not just because the disparate lengths of these books, the Malazan books are all between 500 and 1,000 pages, and the Narnia books are all under 300 pages, but just the density of each book and the tone of each book, I think they're going to provide a great contrast. So after I finish each Malazan book throughout this year, I will follow it up with a book by C.S. Lewis in the Chronicles of Narnia. Now, you may be wondering why I'm starting with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when the box set says it's book 2. Well, I'm reading in publication order. There is some controversy, even amongst C.S. Lewis scholars, about the proper order for reading Narnia. And I'm just going to go with what my friend Scott the Bald Booktuber would say, publication order always. So I will be reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe first instead of The Magician's Nephew. So that's the third book that I'll read this month. The fourth book that I'll be reading this month is the final book in Joe Haldeman's Peace and War Omnibus, and that is Forever Peace. I read The Forever War back in November, I believe, and loved it. It's a top 10 work of science fiction for me. In December, I read Forever Free, which I will talk about when I do my December book wrap-up, which will happen, I don't know, at some point. I have a lot of content planned for January, so I don't know when it's going to fall in there. But at some point, I'll give you a review for that book as well. But I am looking forward to the final installment in that omnibus, Forever Peace. Okay, the fifth book I plan on reading this month is the first volume of The History of Middle-earth by J.R.R. Tolkien and Christopher Tolkien. There are 12 volumes. You can see my omnibus right here. There are 12 volumes. I'm going to read one per month. The first volume is The Book of Lost Tales, Part 1. I've really enjoyed the Tolkien Legendarium, the books that are a little off the beaten path that Christopher Tolkien helped bring to life, like The Three Great Tales, The Unfinished Tales. I'm looking forward to reading the history of Middle-earth this year. Okay, and my sixth book this month is Joanna's Pick. So take it away, Joanna.
Hey Josh, Joanna here. Thank you so much for inviting me to pick a book for you for 2023. I'm a huge admirer of your channel, and I love that you enjoy reading from a diverse array of genres. That's something I really appreciate. And so I chose Stoner by John Williams, and I think you'll get a sense of what this is about within the first couple of paragraphs. This is very much a slice of life story about an English college professor, and it's very much the ode to the ordinary man, but the way John Williams writes will draw you into this story. I think you'll really appreciate what this author has to offer, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. So Stoner by John Williams, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you love everything you read in 2023.
Thank you, Joanna. I am really looking forward to reading Stoner. I've heard so many people rave about it. I know on a recent video that you shot, it was your book of the year. Alan's raved about it, Alex has raved about it, Jimmy's raved about it. So I'm very much looking forward to reading Stoner. So thank you for the great recommendation, and I'll let you know in a few weeks what I thought. Okay, the seventh book that I plan on reading this month is a novella by John Crenshaw, who is a self-published author that I've interacted with on Twitter. And he has a novella called The Fool, which is a prelude to one of his book series. I'm trying to make a better effort at reading self-pub next year. I read 3 or 4 self-pub selections last year, and frankly, I was blown away at the quality. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to try to read a lot more of that this year, starting with The Fool by John Crenshaw. Okay, my final book in January is a reread of sorts, and that is Magician by Raymond E. Feist. Now, I have read Magician and the Rift War saga in high school in the 4-book volume. Magician was published at the time, 2 different volumes, Magician Apprentice, Magician Master, and that's the version that I read it, and when I reread it later in life, that's how I read it again. I knew there was a single volume edition out there, but what I didn't know is this special collector's edition puts about 50 pages back in that Feist was originally forced to cut out of this tale. So I wanted to read that. Additionally, I'm rereading the Rift War saga because later this year I do want to read the Empire trilogy that Feist co-wrote with Janny Wirtz. So I'm looking forward to all of that. So I will finish the month reading Magician by Raymond E. Feist, and I'm really excited to do so. All right, so that's my January. Have you read any of these books? Let me know in the comments section below. And I'd also love to hear how you're starting your year. What are you most excited to read in January 2023? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter and Goodreads. I'd love to interact with you there. Thanks once again to Joanna for picking Stoner for me. I'm looking forward to reading that. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.